Hello and welcome back to Framecraft Picture Framers. Today we're just going to have a look at a couple of different things within the picture framing industry. I've got a simple framing job here which I just need to finish off for a customer, and it gives us the opportunity to show you the difference between a professional fitting process and a ready-made fitting process. Just checking the audio after last week, it wasn't particularly brilliant, so I'm going to keep half an eye across that on the computer. Lovely little cartoon for let's get this lovely little cartoon all framed up nicely. So very simply, it's a nice bit of wood. Go around there, nice complementary brown. Right away there. Right. So obviously with the glass, please be aware of obviously sharp edges if you're doing this yourself. The edges of the glass there, when we actually score the glass and then we snap it, so it has nice sharp edges to it. So just be a bit aware of that. Just going to use a bit of alcohol cleaner. So very simply, anything with a high alcohol content is going to evaporate away nicely. So you can use your traditional window cleaners that you use at home, but yeah, this is some good stuff. So we always do things in a nice circular motion, just allows us to get to the edge of the glass. So we're trying to get rid of any smears, any dust, anything like that. So we are also checking for things like bubble in the glass. Small little bubbles can occur when things are put into. So I'm just noticing a. Right, that's annoying. So I can see why this is put to the side now. There's a nice decent size scratch out of that. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, so it's just a decent size scratch out of there. Yeah, one of those things. It's annoying. I'll just get that in closer so you can see it. I mean, the nature of these things is that we can obviously get scratches in glass, we can get bubbles in glass, and it's a bit frustrating because obviously we need to start again. So we'll have to wait for a new bit of glass from that, which we'll have to get from the workshop downstairs. Put that one safely to the side. A couple of things we've been working on this week, so we can also do things like a block mount. So this is a very nice map here, which we've then laid down onto this board here. It's 12mm thick, and then obviously pop the image down and a nice laminate over the top of it. This will need going through the machine again just to try and get it as flat as possible. Being the nature of it being a map and it's folded up, it's going to have sort of heavy creasing in it. So we need to sort of try and get it as flat as possible for the customer. It's never going to be perfectly flat. It's one of those things where the ridges are always going to be showing. I think I very briefly showed you the other day issues with bubbles in glass. Try and show you this again. So we've got this beautiful metal set in at the moment, which has got some really lovely expensive glass in it. But we've had major issues with glass supply at the moment, in that we've had well, two bits of glass with bubbles in it and another piece with scratches on it. And each time, obviously being a very nice expensive piece of glass, we've got it directly from the manufacturer. So if you have a look there, you can just see the bubble there. It's obviously a lot easier to see in terms of you know, in natural sight, but obviously being on a black background, you might be able to see it quite clearly. And of course, on the fresh bit of glass, a nice bit of bubble on that as well. It's a little bit annoying, so we're going to wait for that to come back in for the manufacturer again before the customer can have their image. So I also had a quick look the other day at Gingy. So Gingy was annoyingly put in, let's put it that way. In terms of this, there are a few minor issues in terms of the mount. The mount itself, I don't think is the best grade mount for a limited edition. It's a particularly lovely piece, and it was fairly plain. So the first thing the customer asked us to do is put a lovely double mount over the top of it to really pop the colours out. And essentially with that, we're going to be picking out some of the sepias and the browns in there just to make it pop out, but with a nice neutral cream like this on the inside there. So it just gives it a nice ring effect and helps draw in the eye. There are a few minor issues with the actual cloth that's gone over the top of the foam here. The foam had a few wrinkles in it, which has translated through. But the most major issue with it all is this has double-sided taped it. So I've now got to try and take a limited edition off this with removing double-sided tape from it without putting any bend or anything like that into it, which is a pretty difficult task, to be honest, because it is so close to the edge, the window aperture. But we'll give it a crack and we'll see how it goes. Right. You keep this one a fairly short stream, as the Friday stream wasn't particularly brilliant, so we'll try and make sure that this one's a short one, just to check the kit out again. We're fairly inexperienced with sound. The video seems fairly easy to set up. It's the sound which seems to be doing us the issue. So we shall keep it brief. I'm trying a bit of a different setup this week. I'm finding that the lav mic I had last week was giving it a bit of a pop and a whiz, and that didn't last very long. So I'm using a different mic this week just to see if I can get a better sound on it. That does mean I need to talk in the right direction. So again, forgive me if I'm not brilliant on it. So all I'm doing here is I'm just using the natural weight of the board itself, and I'm just trimming away the double-sided tape while lifting. See if I can show you a little bit better. You have to excuse me, I'm going to put this in my mouth while I show you. So basically, as you can see here, just going to try and peel this back steadily and then cut away this double-sided mount. So I'm cutting into the mount rather than the image, and pulling it away very gently, so there shouldn't be any fold in it. And hopefully that will do the trick. I'll put that back in the right place. Let me just go and check. Let's just see if this behaves. There are a couple of other methods of getting this off later. One that I don't really want to use initially, which is lighter fluid. Lighter fluid, it won't damage the print, but it will dampen the fibers slightly. which when you're pulling isn't the best thing in the world. But they've used some pretty heavy duty double-sided tape on here, which I'm not that impressed by, to be honest. We're having a bit of a spate of that at the moment. We've just had quite a top-end gallery in London, a photographic agency, supply a customer of ours with a print. Really quite grumpy about it, actually. On the back of the print, so it's a nice limited edition print. Limited edition photograph. So the customer spent a decent amount of money on it. So fair enough, the photographer himself has signed the back of it, and they've stuck a lumping great label on the back of it. Now, basic physics will tell you that with the expansion and contraction of the atmospheric, so heat, humidity, and changes in pressure, putting a label on the back of something over time, that is going to emboss through. So the customer's just bought a very nice limited edition photograph, and now they've got they're going to have a label come through the front of it over time, and it's going to look terrible. They must have done it to them all, so they've damaged all of them, but it's just not a brilliant way of doing it. I'll grab George here. So Roald Dahl's George. What we do is standard in the printing industry and the framing industry is this is a lovely limited edition print here. So this is 69 of 595. Very simple. Nice certificate on the back in its own little plastic doodad. And then obviously when we come to frame it, we just put that on the back of the frame. All picture framers, all people that are interested in longevity like us, are always going to put any form of provenance on the back of things. So you don't need to worry about sticking great big labels on the back of things. Supply us with a little certificate and we'll put it in a plastic folder and put it on the back. It's basic. Any picture framer, anybody, any artist or anything like that that's got any artist information, it's always good to put that on the back. The customer appreciates it, and it's not going to be forgotten. And the other thing as well, the insurers actually like it, because what we can suggest to the customer is that they take that certificate and put it in a safe drawer somewhere else in the house or off-site, so that they've got proof of purchase, they've got proof of a limited edition. So if it's stuck to the back of the actual image itself, the customer can't take it off and move it to the side. It's infuriating, really, actually. Right. As you can see with this, I'm actually cutting down into the board rather than into the print. But this is really heavy duty, so I think I'm going to have to get some lighter fluid on it. Got me up here. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of little pots. You'll find the right one. Sorry, I've got several of these before. Here is it. Not being put back in the right stuff. I got lovely stuff, but they do tend to spread things everywhere. Don't leave things in a standard place. Spend half my time trying to find things. Bear with me a sec. Joys of storerooms, eh? So, here we go. Little lighter fluid. So all we're trying to do is ease up this glue. It will evaporate off nicely at a later stage. So it shouldn't be a problem. But again, if I get too far with this and it's just not going to come off, then basically we'll just stop. That's easing up a little bit. So we know that obviously with that particular aperture as well that I can just about see under these lights. I can just about see where the edge of the mount board is. So I'm just going to go paint along this, along the side there, so that at a later stage it's all going to be not visible anyway. So just painting the back of it, wetting it through. It's all going to evaporate off later. That's already starting to ease up, but there we go. Nice. Nicely easing up. It's just a bit of a painstaking process. So this isn't going to damage the print in any way because it all is going to evaporate off later. I haven't followed a nice straight line, which doesn't help. There, I'll show you. Not a nice straight line, so it's a bit more difficult. Sorry, I've got something in my mouth. Again. So I'm just painting this and I'm making sure that it's not anywhere near the aperture. And nicely away from this aperture here so we can lay it down later. So if by some happenstance it does happen to mark, it's not going to leave any mark. You can already see at this end it's starting to evaporate away. There we go. So, Gingy is free. So to all artists out there, please, please, please do not double side tape your image down like this again, because somebody who doesn't know that little trick like me could come along and essentially damage your print. That will make it different to the other numbers that are in the world, and then obviously it's more of an issue. I'm quite pleased I managed to take that off there nicely, as the customer wanted me to change it anyway. The reason being is that I don't think it's the best mount in the world. Now, what I mean by that is if you actually have a look in the core, here, it's slightly creamy. Now that to me suggests that it's a basic grade of mount, so potentially over time it can the acid inside of it can break down. Now what we use as standard is this stuff here, the conservation grade. stuff. So it's basically had all the acid removed from it before manufacture. So it's an acid neutral product. Acid neutral, obviously, because it being made from wood originally, it's had it removed from it. Because it's had acid in it originally, you can never call it acid free. We do supply acid free mount, the museum grade mount, which is made from cotton fibers. That's fantastic for things like maps and things that you know, really special things. This is a bit of a grubby sample, but hopefully you could you can tell the difference between the two cores. Let me just try. Let me get you a fresh sample. That'll be better. Just bear with me a sec. Get a fresh sample and you can see the difference. So special spotty quarters, spotty top ones. Anyway, just pop that there so you might be able to see that now. So possibly you might be able to tell the difference from that. So the conservation grade there is a fair bit whiter, the one on the inside. So we're looking at the 45-degree bevel. So the 45-degree bevel there is a little bit creamier. So now that I've got the Gingy off nice and safe, we need to double check at the top here. So you can just about tell where the track line is for the double-sided tape, but yeah, it's actually embossed through a little bit. But as you can see, all evaporated off the lighter fluid. So the next task then, basically, because I don't have the tape that they've used here to replicate. Oh, that was the lighter fluid tipping over. Don't have the tapes here to replicate this cloth. So they've used a foam board base here, and they've put a cloth wrap over the top, and then obviously stuck it to the base layer. I'm going to have to try and take this this chevron here off so that I can replace this bottom mount here. The bottom mount here, which is obviously touching the surface of the image, is the most important mount for longevity. The reason being, obviously, it's touching the actual image. And because it's touching the actual image, that's the one that you really want to pay attention to for future use, essentially. Obviously, when we talk in terms of picture framing, we always like to look at it as sort of 50, 60 years down the line in terms of keeping it nice and pristine. So obviously using good quality materials, both behind and on front, as well as good quality glasses and things like that, is going to make your image stay pristine and perfect for many years to come. There's a number of artists out there that try and make a saving here or there to try and sort of keep costs down, which is fair enough. It's always probably a good idea to actually list your materials when you do sell an artwork, so that the customer's got that decision then and the information to go away and get it changed for longevity's sake. Obviously, as a picture framer, we like to think of three different things when we're pitching it, making frames and things like that. The first one is obviously the display aspect. The second is obviously the protection of the piece. And then obviously we want to enhance it, so make it pretty. So obviously, structurally the frame to get it up on the wall, extra mounts, different color mounts, things like that. The mount's primary job in life has a function. It lifts the glass away from the image. Obviously it gives it a nice border and helps draw in the eye. That's the enhancement side of it, really. There are a number of different ways of raising the glass away. You can use fillets or spacers and things like that as well. But obviously we want to protect it. If you're going to come to a quality bespoke framer like us, we're going to want to make sure that it's really nice and pristine for many, many years to come. Let's put that. So I did try and show you last week how to put a ready-made frame together. I was going to do that briefly again today. I was going to show you that comparison, but I can't really do that at the moment. So anyway, I'll put Put that down. That's ready-made frame. Put all these away. Sample back. Right, so the ready-made frames. Obviously, if you're buying the ready-mades in store, you're not going to need one of these postal boxes. These postal boxes we've designed specially so that we can send stuff through to you on Amazon and things like that, and obviously through the post. So very simply, we've got a nice hard box on the outside. We've got a nice little suspension system on the inside to stop the glass from sticking in and out. We, as standard, will supply you with all the fittings that you require in order to actually get the image up on the wall. So D-rings, the correct screws, and obviously some string. All of our ready-mades come with some form of fitting in the back. In this case, we're using these flexi tabs. So these flexi tabs, they just flick up. Push them hard against the side, it will reduce the chance of the glass chipping on the way in and out. Simple as that, really, with your thumb. On the bigger ones, you might get something called a spring clip. Now, a spring clip is essentially a steel version of these, which is a lot chunkier, has a lot more pressure on it. It's going to last an awful lot longer as well. Particularly important on larger pieces, which are obviously going to have a lot more weight in terms of glass on it. And basically, they have their own individual screw that goes into the side of the wood, and then that spring comes off and presses onto the surface again. And obviously, just to simply tighten it up, you just tighten the screw up, and it puts more pressure on that, which is great. And it very, very rarely has any interactions with the glass. So, as I mentioned, dead simple. These flick up. Push them hard against the side. That will reduce the chance of the glass chipping on the way in and out. The glass in the backing will not fit this frame perfectly. Now, there is a design behind that. We obviously want you to be able to take it in and out of the frame. These flexi tabs, they take up a millimetre or two on the side, and they basically stop the glass from chipping coming in and out. So I did my best to push those to the side, but it's still caught on the way out. Anyway, so when you do get a frame, it may rattle a little bit, but the simplest and easiest method in order to stop it rattling, I mean, it's going to be up on the wall anyway, so it doesn't matter if it rattles, is to push these flexi tabs down firmly. Not too hard, because obviously you don't want to break the glass, but firmly after you've finished it. So, again, as I showed you at the start of the stream, what we need to do is just grab some good window cleaner, something preferably alcohol-based, something that's not going to have any smears in it afterwards, and something that evaporates essentially. So, I'm going to put a little amount on there. Good cloth, obviously, as well. Simple circular motion. Just watching your fingers on the edge of the glass. The glass can be sharp. The way glass is cut very simply is it's scored and then snapped, and that snap can sometimes have sharp edges. Just be a little bit careful with it. All glass that's treated with confidence and it is not going to bite. It's when you treat it without confidence that it will bite. So do that on both sides. I'm using a very light amount because I've done this glass before, so it doesn't need a lot of smears removed. Hardly any glass. Obviously, just to stop it from moving, I'm just using my fingers on the edge here just to stop it from shifting. Work it all in the corners, make sure there's no smears. The little trick I've got is taking it to the edge and looking firmly down through the glass just to make sure there's no smears and bits and bobs. That is pretty ready to go. Obviously what we do then at this point is, if you've got a mount, fantastic, put the mount on, then put your image on and then pre-attach it. Preferably with some archival tape rather than double-sided. Piece of paper, card, or even kitchen foil in behind the image, and that's going to stop any of this acid from the backing board here leaching through over time, which can cause your image to yellow or get what's called foxing, which looks like little fox paw prints of yellow spots coming through. Pop that on there. This is one other little recommendation. I always recommend that you sandwich everything together so that I'm actually not touching the inside of the glass, I'm touching the outside of the glass with my thumb. So that inside of the glass where the image is, which is not going to be cleaned, is not got any fingerprints on it. And then just on the diagonal, as you can see, I'm putting the thing in like that. Don't try and plonk it in like that. It's a bit more difficult. So if you use sort of a nice V shape, it's going to go across there nicely. Put those flex tabs back down. There we go. So what we do then is obviously get the D-rings. Depending on whether your image is a portrait or a landscape, what we'd recommend you do is put your fittings in between 1/4 and 1/3 of the way up the frame, so that this base sits nicely on the wall and it doesn't hang too far forwards, but it just sits nicely on the wall. Just with a bradawl, so one of these pointy things, just make a nice starter hole, and then obviously with either, you can even use the end of a pencil if you like. I've got that now, I can put that there. With the D-rings, obviously screw that in, screw them all in, put the string through so it's doubled up, and then do a nice reef knot. So the reef knot is important because it's that lovely lock nut, and that's going to have all the structure in it. And then obviously just a couple of loops and things like that to finish it off. And then it's all ready to go up on the wall. Another day I shall show you how we do it professionally. Obviously when we do it professionally, we're going to clean and polish the glass. We're going to use professional tapes and strings. So we'll add a sandwich tape around the outside of it. That prevents dust from getting in. It also helps stop little bugs from getting in. There's no way of stopping all the bugs getting in because they love to burrow and they love getting in the side. But it'll certainly reduce it a little bit. And then obviously we'll pin it all in pneumatically with our air pins. Put professional K-tape K-tape on the back, and then professional D-rings and strings as well. And we're obviously tying it for you. So it's a little bit more labour intensive than a ready-made, and higher quality. It's in there forever. One of the beauties of a ready-made, essentially, if you're buying it for your own home, or whether you're buying it for the kids or something like that, if you do get bored of that image, then you can always change it because it should be a standard size to something else that you particularly like. The nature of a ready-made, stand next to the mic. The nature of a ready-made is it is interchangeable. Obviously, if it's something that you want going into a frame forever and a day, then obviously we'd always recommend that you go down the bespoke route. The bespoke route is obviously, requires you to come in and have a conversation with us. We'll have a nice conversation about your home, the environment that it's going to go into, the best look for the home, and obviously we'll give you the best options in terms of frames. Obviously, in terms of ready-made frames, there is a much more limited option for frames. So, for example, on our website, where there's 23,000 different options, there's only actually 15 different types of frame, but you times that by obviously the different types of mounts that we'll use, the different shapes that we'll use, and obviously the different standard sizes, and that sort of explodes into that 23,000 option. In store, we've got 800 odd different mounts on the wall, which is just over there. But obviously we can do things like the double mount effects. We can do raise things away. We can do medals. We can do textiles. We've done things like pieces of red. We've just done a steering wheel. All sorts of weird and wonderful things that we can play about with and mess about with. So if you are interested, then obviously you can get hold of us through our website, which is www.framecraftonline.com. If you want to ask any questions, then feel free to email us at sales@framecraftonline.com, or you can pop into our shop here in Bath, which is in the middle of the UK in Green Park Station. Or of course you can go to our website and purchase one of those 23,000 frames, or you can purchase it through Amazon as well. If you do want to get hold of us, then please have a look at our Instagram or our Facebook, which should be up there on the screen for you. So thank you very much for watching today, and we'll hope to see you soon.